Hello everyone, I'm Chayapat Rachatah from HTAP Thailand. Today I'm going to present the topic of a COVID-19 Vaccination Certificates initiative for the Asian region, a survey from 9 countries in Asia. So this is my presentation outline for today. In this year, 2022, I believe that most of us in this room have already familiar with the term of vaccination certificate, or most of us might already use this vaccination certificate at least once, whether to entering to restaurants, to community event, or for traveling to other countries. But how about we traveling back time with Doraemon and friends to the year 2019 to 2021, when the COVID-19 pandemic is a very serious issue and that countries implemented health safety measures and also border closure policy. And even though we had the introduction of the COVID-19 vaccines, people still have limited knowledge on using the CVCs in terms of screening the individuals. So in 2021, the Thai government commissioned a regional study on the CVCs called CORSIA, which CORSIA is a regional collaboration consisted of 9 representatives from Asian government and research institutions. This including countries from India, Indonesia, Japan, Laos, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, South Korea, and Thailand. The study was also closely advised by a group of experts, for example, WHO in the region. So as part of the study, we conducted an online survey, which we aimed to understand the Asian people perception towards the utilization of the CVCs, which this will allow us to identify the enabling factors and barriers of the utilization of it. Also, hopefully we can inform the potential of having effective policies for CVCs in Asia. So moving on to the method. We disseminated 2 types of questionnaire. Which one is the public? We disseminated to adults that aged 18 and older. And for institutions, we disseminated to both public and private health and non-health sector. So we disseminated between June to October 2021. And the questionnaire was originally developed in English, and then we translated later into 6 languages, which are Bahasa Indonesia, Japanese, Korean, Lao, Malay, and Thai. And then after that, we consolidated the responses that we received from all countries in a Microsoft Excel file, and then we cleaned using Stata software and then conducted the descriptive analysis. So for the public survey, we disseminated to 9 countries, and we focuses on the acceptability and perception of the people towards CVCs. We had 5 sections in this questionnaire as shown here. And for the institution one, we focus more on the CVC's policy implementation. And we only disseminated to 6 countries. And the questionnaire also have 5 sections that we adapted from the public one. And for the results, starting with the overall characteristics of public survey, we received 12,547 responses, but 12,204 were left for analysis. And most of them were from the Philippines, followed by India and then Japan. And the majority of them were aged between 25 to 40 years. They were female with undergraduate degree. They worked in industry, trade, and services sector. They were vaccinated with AstraZeneca. They had no travel history prior to the pandemic. They also had no travel plans in 2021. For the institutional survey, we received 795 responses, and most of them were from the Philippines. So, do people in Asia want it? So from our survey result, we found that both public and institutions were receptive to the adoption of the CVCs. Which groups of people that are more receptive to the CVCs are people who aged between 25 to 40 years. They were vaccinated, they had travel history before the pandemic, they had travel plan, and also they were respondents who think that CVCs could provide financial benefits to their occupations. However, there are some conditions that need to be considered before the adoption of the CVCs. which the public, they think that CVCs should be used more on international travel, and they less agree to use the CVCs on employment. Also, they think that the vaccination coverage should be high enough, between 60 to 100%, before the adoption of the CVCs. Also, they think that the NPI measures should continue to exist even though they have the adoption of the CVCs, which the top 3 NPI measures are testing on arrival or during quarantine, social distancing, and also monitoring inbound travelers. For institutions, regarding the format of the CVCs, they preferred adopting both digital and paper-based CVCs, which this is to mitigate the limitations of each format and to make sure that we do not exclude people that have difficulties in accessing digital infrastructure. So in conclusion, there are factors that lead to the implementation of the CVCs, including in few other studies, they found that scientific information could influence the acceptance of the CVCs, which this also reflected in our survey result that respondents with beyond high school were likely to be more receptive to the CVCs. Also, they think that vaccination coverage should be high enough before the adoption of it. Also, NPI measures should continue to exist even though the adoption of the CVCs. However, there are also a few challenges that is a barrier to the adoption of the CVCs, which there are still some ongoing debate of the inclusion of immunity proof due to the limited evidence of the reinfection, and also new variants seem to still emerge. But countries also need to ensure that we do not exclude some people, as vaccine accessibility is still an ongoing issue in some countries. And besides that, digital accessibility is also need to take into account. So the adoption of both digital and paper version might help at least in mitigate this issue. So how can we move forward in terms of the CVC's policy in the Asian region? So the insights from this study can potentially inform countries not only on the COVID-19 pandemic policies, but also operationalizing vaccine verification infrastructure for future outbreaks preparedness, especially for blocs like ASEAN and APEC. Also, but this will require a lot of multidisciplinary effort and also interoperability between countries to create a robust policy for CVCs for Asia. However, the regional policy leader is important for such initiative, and a strong leadership will lead to an effective policy. But will ASEAN as a regional leader for Southeast Asia takes a step of it, or who else will take this vital role? We will still need to hope and see. However, our study have some limitations that we do not have sample size calculation for each countries in institutional survey. Also, as it is an online survey, this limit to only groups of people with digital infrastructure. Also, our survey is quite long and complex, which this might lead to disengagement of the respondents. And the study was also done by descriptive analysis, which other study could be built on for future research. And that is all my presentation. Thank you. If you wish to read more, you can scan.
Thank you. This is very interesting, very important policy study for some future or current policy implementation. Any question from the floor? No, people are shy, still very shy today. So maybe Professor Chen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the very clear sharing of the research and this important study. I have two questions. The first question is on the potential bias of conducting an online sample, given that we see that I think about 50% of the study population actually has an undergraduate degree. Yeah. Then the second question is, going forward, how do we use the results of this study to help inform policy, reduce inequity between countries? Thank you.
Thank you. For the first question, I'm not sure. what was your question? Like, is it biased?
So potential bias in terms of the study population. So for instance, for example, in Singapore, if I were to do a study on older adults and I use online sample to assess various information, I will get older adults who are more educated, who is able to answer all the questions, able to read English and or Mandarin, to be able to answer. So is there potential biases involved when this is an online sample? Meaning that if the results would it be similar with what the general population thinks, or it's just what the general population of the better educated thinks?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, I have to admit that this is also one of our study limitation, as this was a conducted online survey only, which that you might see that our results show that people were like receptive to the use of it. Yeah, we have to admit that that is our limitation. And for the second question, policy recommendation for future. We can use this lesson learned to prepare for our future outbreak. And like in Thailand, for example, at first the government want to implement only the paper-based CVC, but then at that time we conducted like a the pilot survey to institutions in Thailand, and the prelim result, we found that they want to have like both digital and paper-based to like at least mitigate the some challenges of each format. So that's why like we have implemented both paper and digital.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your talk. You had very good slides. My question is, how would you want to take this forward? What do you think the next steps of the research are?
Okay, thank you. That's a very good question. So as I said, like maybe as a way forward for Asian region, maybe this is like in the past we do like individually countries have like different policies, but we have like lesson learned from this COVID-19 pandemic already. So maybe in terms of preparing for future outbreaks, countries might have to come together and then like look for a mutual effort for more effective policies. Thank you.
Questions from the floor? Well, I'm also I'm still thinking about how to input. I mean, how to for future because for reality is that the COVID-19 pandemic might pass very quickly. I think that there's a consensus. So this might lay a good foundation of the future policy. Yet there could be new technology or new concept when maybe next decade a new pandemic comes in. So could it be what would you suggest if you just could comment on? I mean, have a 1 point or 2 points recommendation for the next decade pandemic certificate. Yeah.
Okay.
Am I too tough for you? Tough on you. Sorry.
This is a challenging one. Please give me a second. Thank you. Yeah, I agree that in the future we might have like a more advanced technology in terms of for like using the digital based CVCs. And maybe like in ASEAN, we already have like a regional like effort already. But if we like take it more seriously, and then like countries come together and then like share their experiences like from the past pandemic, and then like come up with the like effective policies. And then that
may I
might
just
help.
follow? I have a question. But what ministry or department would you call upon first? Is that health, Ministry of Health, or Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or the technology department?
Yeah,
Things
so
like that.
I think it shouldn't be like just one ministry to work on this, but like a mutual effort. For example, Ministry of Public Health, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they say, and also Ministry of like societal aspect also, because like there are, as I said at first, the CVCs also have like ethical issue, that how about people that like don't have access to vaccines or don't have access to digital accessibility. So that's why like not only one ministry should like take a step of it, but like many ministries have to take forward, and then like for a more effective and more inclusion.
Yeah, you have a very good recommendation for the next decade. So
Thank you.
maybe
I'm good.
okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for the very nice
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
And then thank you very much. You have very good, excellent presentation.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.